down. But meanwhile, let's bring it down to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Big story we learned yesterday. Washington changed their name, no more Redskins. But then we found out about this gentleman, and we had the story pretty much before anybody.
Yes.
Because everybody was worrying about the name and what's it going to be. This gentleman down there in Alexandria, Virginia, Philip Martin McCaulay, has been trademarking names since 2014, so he's been way ahead of the curve. He flattened the curve before there was a curve. And he joins us right now down there in Alexandria. Philip, thank you for joining us today, man. First of all, I know a lot of people are rooting for you, and then some people are rooting against you. Why is that?
Why are people rooting for me? Because after decades of a name that's insensitive to Native Americans, it should have been changed a long time ago. I can facilitate this name change because I got trademarks for every good name that they could use that's available. And they can make the change in time for the 2020 season. And I don't think they have a lot of options out there for a name that they can use and have it ready in 2 months. The reason I'm a villain is because some people speculate I'm doing this to try to make money. But the thing about my trademarks is I got these 6 years ago and lost interest in this hobby, and I was selling a lot of merchandise online, but as soon as somebody called and wanted to buy one, I just decided I do not want to be in this online retail business, and I gave all that stuff away. I have not used these trademarks in 5 years. I don't want them. I was going to let them expire. They're worthless to me. But then all of a sudden, this name change issue came up again right before mine were about to expire. And the thing about mine being so nearly worthless, indefensible, is that any trademark attorney could go to court and get them canceled to clear the way for the Washington team to use them. So the Washington team can use my trademarks either way. I've been bugging them for 10 days to take my trademarks for free, and I'm tired of saying that, so I'll just say what anybody else would say. I will entertain any offers. And if all of a sudden I say, okay, now I want $1 billion, they just go to court and get them for free anyway, because any trademark attorney can get them canceled. So they really don't have a lot of downside with my trademarks because they're good to go. Because I've got trademarks for clothing and a football team, and they're good. That's basically all you need.
Well, have they been negotiating with you on several of these names?
No, they don't need to. They don't even let me. They don't need to let me know that they want one of my names because all they have to do is apply for it and fill in an application on the trademark office website, which, by the way, has been down since last Friday. So maybe that's the reason they haven't been able to apply for a trademark. Maybe it's not me, but because the online system to apply, the only way you can apply, has been down since Friday.
It's the government again.
Wow.
Tony.
Can you stand in line like the people are doing at all these DMVs to try to get their licenses renewed or get a driver's license all over the country because many government offices are shut down? Or do you think this is just a glitch? Because it had been open prior, right, to last Friday?
Yeah, I was still getting trademark applications in there right up until it crashed and hasn't been available since.
Now let me ask you this, because this is
the obstacle here.
Let me ask you this, because people, when I have a name, I've been in radio for a long time, and so when I wanted to put up a website and wanted to buy a website name, somebody had already taken my name and went with it, but their name was really Tony Bruno, and they took TonyBruno.com. And the guy admitted that he did because he knew who I was, but it's his name too, and he was a realtor, and he figured that if he put TonyBruno.com up, that people would go there thinking it was me and then decide to buy real estate from him, which made no sense. And then he tried to get me to sell it and buy it, and I said, I'm not going to pay for it. Keep it. I'll just get something else. In the case of this Washington,
happen to live right around where he was.
Exactly. No, so here's the thing. Is it easier to get a trademark than it is to buy a website from GoDaddy or any of these sites?
Trademark's a lot harder. An applicant for a trademark can't just apply and then just hold on to it, waiting for somebody to pay them more. To apply for a trademark, the applicant has to certify they have a bona fide intent to use that trademark. And that applies to every single trademark I've ever applied for. I used it. I got them registered. A lot of people will apply for one and then not really intend to use it. Mine are all registered. So that's a lot harder. A trademark applicant has to show that they're using that mark. And it doesn't mean just take a picture or something and send it in. An applicant has to really show that that's their brand. So, like, Washington Americans is my brand. It wasn't just like I'm selling a T-shirt that says Washington Americans. I had to get labels and stuff. But I don't sell that stuff anymore. I didn't sell any. It was a pain in the neck. I didn't want to mess with shipping and sales tax and stuff. But this hobby was fun, and I was excited about collecting all these trademark registrations until I got to the point where somebody actually wanted to buy this stuff. And then I just thought, I do not want to do this anymore. I lost interest in the hobby until recently when it came up that they might need one of the names. And when I looked at all these names people were talking about, but these are all names that I trademarked back in 2015. They have not expired yet. And then I looked at people who are betting on these names. The ones that were favorites were my names. So I thought, well, why don't I go ahead and apply some fresh applications for these and not let these expire? And then if the team wants them, I figure I can do them a solid and say, here are your names. Go for it. You've only got 2 months to go before the start of the season. You want a new name, you want new logos. I've really got 4 options for you. Do you want, these are the good ones where everything's ready to go. You've got Renegades. You want Red Tails, Red Hawks, or American. Those are the ones where I've got clothing and football games.
So, Philip, normally if you were to start it from scratch, how long of a process is it to get something trademarked?
3 months before they even look at it, which is why they don't need to tell me that they want it, because they apply and it just sits in the trademark office for 3 months until the trademark officer would look at it and say, somebody already applied for this exact same name before you, so yours is suspended. So then they would contact the team. The team would either contact me or use litigation to get mine canceled, and then the trademark attorney might take a few more months to review it, and then they publish it for opposition. It's probably, if everything goes really well, probably 7 months, but maybe a year.
Let me ask you, because here's the question, because yesterday when the story was announced that Washington had dropped the name Redskins, the prevailing sentiment was, well, they can't get one because you have all the trademarks, and that's why they're not announcing it, and that they would have to come to you and then make a deal so they can announce it at the beginning of the season, which is not that far away. So will they be able to have a name for the beginning of the season if they do start on time in September?
If they want one of my names, just use it. They don't even have to tell me. Just use it. They can either have me assign it to them later or give them permission to it or whatever they want to do, or just don't tell me and just ignore me and go ahead and apply for their own and pretend like mine aren't out there or get them canceled later. Whatever they want to do. They've got a lot of options to use my trademarks for free.
So you're not a grifter. You're not all the terms that are used.
He's not trying to hijack.
You're not a squatter. You're not a grifter. You're not trying to screw the team over. You did this because you wanted them to change the name. You were against the name to begin with, right?
Well, I mean, I'd like to take credit for being that much of a saint. That I started this because it was a hobby. I thought it was funny. When people were getting joke names like the Washington R-Skin Potatoes or the Washington Skins, I thought it was funny. I got Washington Pigskins. Okay, so I went out and I bought 100 pigskin coffee cups and I registered Pigskins, and the NFL wrote me and said, we saw you applied for Washington Pigskins. Sounds a lot like the Washington team's name, but we're going to allow it. And I just thought, that's so cool. The NFL wrote me. So I started getting more names. It was just a really weird hobby. I don't expect anybody to relate that somebody would do this for fun or a hobby. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fun. But now I can say, yeah, I'm a saint. I was just concerned about the name change. Okay, yeah, I'm that too. I mean, later
So,
I
Philip,
figured out.
let me get this straight. You are saying right here now that you aren't interested in any monetary exchange reward. You are saying that you, in a way, have facilitated the Washington team to be able to just get a name right here, right now, without having to wait for the normal 3-month waiting period to trademark a name.
An assignment of a trademark to change the owner is $20 and instantaneous.
Boom.
Okay, to me that makes more sense to get an instantaneous trademark that they want to use 2 months from now than start the process and run into who knows what kind of problem during that process.
All right, last thing. If the name is not one of the names that you've had trademarked and they want a different name, they won't be able to get it done unless they started this process a couple of months ago. They won't have it ready by September.
By the start of the season.
Correct. That's what it sounds like.
My opinion is that's correct. I only see 4 options. But there was speculation that they want red wolves.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want red wolves. And when they said that trademark issues are holding it up, that's what I thought they were talking about, because the Arkansas State Red Wolves are very litigious, and they're in a lawsuit right now because they didn't like the idea of the soccer team called the Chattanooga Red Wolves using their name. So there's a lawsuit that's going to be settled in a year. So I thought, they're talking about this being a holdup because of trademark issues. They must be talking about Arkansas State.
Right.
And then, Arkansas State's a public university. If they go through some trademark issue, that's going to be public information. There's going to be a Board of Trustees hearing. That's going to take months with a lot of debating and different opinions on what to charge and what to use the money for.
Philip, I have one last question.
We're running out of time.
I know.
Robert.
Is there
sorry.
anybody at all that has reached out to you regarding this from the NFL?
No.
Wow.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad you straightened it up because there's a lot of things that why didn't they do it? Why is this guy holding them up? And you're saying that they're not, unless it's a name that you don't have as a trademark, they will not be able to unsheath a new name on opening day of the 2020 season if there is one. Sir, I want to thank you, Philip Martin McCaulay. Thank you so much for coming on and clearing a lot of this stuff up with us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
That is so 2020.
I hope somebody from the NFL does contact him. They should.
You don't think the Washington lawyers for Dan Snyder are already on top of this?
Doesn't sound like having a
sound
trademark
like-
really does much for you.
Yeah, really.
No.
That's what I learned out of the whole thing.
I love all the people on the Twitch stream ripping this. This is a good interview. We got a lot of questions answered, right?
He hasn't talked to anyone. That can be like a press release.
Yeah, I know. We need to just send out a press release.
I mean,
for
Cujo knows. What is it that you do if you have a podcast? What do you talk about?
Here's the biggest.
what
The
do you-
biggest
what
thing
do
is
you
that
do?
nobody's reached out to him.
does that?
He said
Who
on
has
air
time?
live that he doesn't want any money for it, just the $20 exchange to.
That's so interesting.
We just
Yeah.
asked him the basic questions that need to be answered, right? That's what our job is.
But you think about it, they need to get a new name by September.
Yeah.
He's willing to
Do it. He has
No,
it
but the
already.
point is, here's the bottom line. He's got 44 names trademarked, right? He explained all that. If one of those names is there that the Redskins are picking, they don't have to do anything. They can
Right.
just take it and run with it.
Well, for
But if
20
it's not one of